Live from the campus of James Madison University, this is Midweek, a student-produced and directed weekly show featuring newsmakers and events from around the Shenandoah Valley. I'm your host, Stephen Fogelman, and today on Midweek we're going to be discussing stress, understanding it, and dealing with it. With busy pre-Christmas preparations and those dreadful final exams approaching, we probably couldn't have planned a better week to speak with Miss Judith Holt, a professor of nursing here at JMU. Before teaching at Madison, Mrs. Holt was an instructor with the New York State University system. She received her degree from the University of Glasgow in Scotland. Welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
Well, finals are coming up for me and for every other student in the country. And today, I need your help, and I think a lot of other people would like to hear your advice on how to cope with stress.
Okay, I'll do my best.
First of all, Ms. Holt, can you tell me the definition of stress? It's different for everybody.
Yeah, and there are a lot of definitions. I have one that is a favorite of mine, and it just encompasses a number of areas. I just define it as anything that causes you to make a change or adjustment in your life.
Okay.
So that means that stress is not all bad.
Well, we have an opportunity to talk with Mrs. Holt herself. Give us a call at 568-6374 or 568-6388 right now and address your questions to Ms. Holt about whether you want to know how to study for your final exams effectively or just how you can blow off some steam whenever you are having a bad day. And now, continuing our discussion, with stress, certain people can hold certain levels of stress. What allows different individuals to cope with it?
I think that's a good question. Stress really is in the eyes of the beholder. I think that one person's stress tends to be another person's opportunity. And I do think that because it's individual, what the young people need to do as well as adults need to do is understand what is their coping ability at the moment. And that changes. Right now you're talking about finals, you're talking about pre-Christmas. And so that's a period in which there's a lot of change, a lot of adjustment. So someone who's overcommitted at this point might be more stressed than someone who has planned that this busy cycle is coming. So it is very individual. You need to balance between being overstimulated and too much and too little.
And some people make it worse.
Yes.
And some people, make the stress itself worse. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Give us a call if you want to talk to Mrs. Holt. I think we've got a call coming in now, but we're going to get back to the topic of how much stress is enough and how much is too much as soon as we're finished our call.
Okay.
Caller, are you there? Welcome to Midweek.
Thanks. Hi. I'm taking 18 credit hours, and I have 2 jobs, and I was just wondering if there ways that I can handle stress, because exams are coming up in Christmas. That's why all these Christmas presents and everything. I was just wondering what is the best way for me to handle stress?
What's your first name, caller?
John.
Judy?
Gee, John, you're one of those that is overloaded to the max, I think. I think that I would suggest that as you come into finals, one of the ways that you manage stress in a busy period anyway, and finals for students would be that period, make a list of what the next couple of weeks has in store for you. Build in your job hours. Realize the times in which you're just really terribly busy, and those times which are down times for you. Be good to yourself and use the free times to the maximum. Treat yourself. Use some exercise techniques. Watch your diet. I really want to mention sleep, because I think for all students and adults that aren't involved with needing to take exams, if you don't get good sleep, and what I mean is REM sleep, which is sleep that is deep enough to allow dream, if you are not allowing yourself a good enough sleep pattern, you can't remember any of the material that you studied the evening before. And I think the tendency is to sleep less, to study more, and that's why you aren't as productive even on your exams. So good time management, listing what you have, and trying the techniques that you always find for you relax you.
John,
Thank you.
Thank you for calling, John. That's what I wanted to ask you. Is there a happy medium with sleep? How many? What's the bare minimum you should sleep
See, that's
before
real.
preparing.
I know, that's real difficult. I have a son who tends to think that the way to manage is 2 hours of sleep a night. And you know, now what's happened to him is he can't sleep well because he's gotten his body, you know, so out of sync. And so, but it is, some people can go on 3 or 4 or 5 hours. Other people need a full 8 hours. I have one child who only needs, you know, 4 or 5. I have another child who needs 8 hours. And so I think it's tuning into your body not only for sleep, but for all the physiology, all the feelings, just to get to know yourself. And sleep is one of those get to know yourselves. Don't compare yourself to someone else. Because a roommate can get by on 5, you might not be able to. And you'll know that by how irritable you are, by how little you're able to concentrate. If test scores start to go down, if you're just not managing real well, it's probably that your body is giving you signals.
Okay.
Mental fatigue.
Let me get back to that question I was going to ask you before. How much stress do we need in our lives? Don't we need a little bit to get motivated?
Yeah, I think you do. I think many people, it's funny, you know, we've heard a lot of the terms burnout. My elderly folks that I deal with when I do consulting with stress management, I tease them because retirement can be rust out for them. And basically the problem there is understimulation when they've been the chief executive officer of a busy firm and now they're not doing enough. Right. So, and the other analogy I use, Stephan, is it's like a guitar string, and you are the guitar, and your strings are your own. And that means that if they're not tight enough, there's not beautiful music. It's out of sync. But they need to be tight in order to have beautiful music.
Right.
So you have to have that balance again. And it does change month by month. So that some of the things that help are to remember what past experiences have you had. Sometimes students have never faced the kind of stress that they're facing now. Past experiences, past coping energies, those are the things that make for the ability to survive the rough edges.
And they do become rough at times.
So the good side is that when you're going through periods like we're all going through now, especially students going through exams and whatever, you're learning to cope even if you don't do it as well as you'd like each year. By the time you're seniors, usually you've got it down. By the time you're freshmen, you're you know, frazzled.
Definitely a learning experience.
Yeah, it is.
If you have a question for Mrs. Holt, or if you're just stressed out and want to find out some ways to have it mitigated, give us a call right here at 568-6374 or 568-6388. We'll be able to take your call promptly, and you'll be able to talk directly with her. Don't wait for me to ask the questions you want to hear. Ask them yourself. Now, back to our discussion. Mrs. Holt, when someone deals with stress, there are many ways. Are there ways that are dangerous? I mean, using drugs, for example, such as caffeine and alcohol. Can that be helpful, or is it always dangerous?
Well, I think anytime you're using a substance that clouds the issue, it's not as helpful as if you're handling it clear-headed. And I think part of the answer to that is, number one, Stephan, you've got to know what physical symptoms you need to be aware of.